Let me welcome Dr. Anupama Gotimukla, our AAPI president, to open the session for the CEO Forum. Dr. Anupama, please.
Thank you, Dr. Chalil. We have the best CEO Forum today. I mean, we are so lucky to have the greatest achievers and those who are doing great to the healthcare industry. And we are here to present ourselves the best CEO Forum of the Global Health Summit, 15th Global Health Summit. And I have journalists here who are listening to us, what we say. And every word we say here is very, very precious. And we are here to change the world and the healthcare, how healthcare should be. And we put a lot of thought for this theme this year on the prevention aspect. This is what we are lacking right now in India. As we see a difference in the Western world and the Eastern world, there is some difference. And we thought that prevention is something we need to focus more. And we have excellent technology now. And that's what we say, can we transform the healthcare using the technology platform? And I welcome all the dignitaries on the stage. And let us start the session. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anupama. I just want to say welcome all of you to this 15th Global Healthcare Summit CEO Forum. We've done it multiple times before. I want to thank our sponsors very well, Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, Mr. Narayana Rao Sripada, and Dr. Nias Mohammed. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. Again, we have an agenda. We have an action item. After this event, you will be listening to all these leaders. But apart from that, this is not just a discussion and you walk away. We will have a memorandum as a result of this meeting. We will be appealing to the government of India, to the Prime Minister's office, to set up a preventive task force in this country. So let me show you the agenda for today. I know we are running behind in time, so we will try to be as short as possible. Again, I don't need to read the slides to you. We will be, again, myself, I'm Dr. Joseph Chalil. I'm a professor back in Nova Southeastern University in Florida. I chair the business school and work for the medical school there, and I've written a book which is in health policy, and next one coming out. So my passion is in preventive health because 25 years ago, when I lived here in India, I was an MBBS student, as many of you were, and in second year MBBS, my father died of a heart attack. And if we had a preventive exam, if we knew before he was a cardiac patient, we could have saved his life. I see many patients nowadays, breast cancer, cervical cancer, diabetes, hypertension, all diagnosed very late in their cycle, so that we can't do nothing for them. When people are diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, no matter which latest center we have, it just doesn't help. So I'm hoping, it's not about me speaking. We want to listen to all these leaders here. So I'm going to give them each 5 minutes to make their case, and then we will have a discussion at the end, and we'll try to wrap it up in next 2 hours or so. So let me, without further delay, this is one thing which Dr. Anupama has been supporting, the preventive health. We had an op-ed which came out in the Sunday Guardian, which started this, and thank you so much for making it an AAPI agenda, because this is critical, because with having an AAPI agenda will make it work. So this started the event, and then thereby the AAPI conference and all these things. So thank you so much. Without your leadership, this wouldn't have happened. We were supposed to have Professor Nalapat here, who is the vice chair of Manipal and the ex-chief editor of Sunday Guardian. But unfortunately, he couldn't travel, so he left us a strong video message. Let's have a listen to him.
I'm honored to have been invited by the president and the office bearers, including my very dear friend, Dr. Joseph Chalil, to speak at this 15th conference of the AAPI. Your organization is extremely important. Important because the members of this organization have dedicated their lives to healing people and to ensuring that individuals are able to have a productive life. They are dedicated to the cause not only of curing, but of preventing illnesses from coming about. They are dedicated to the cause of finding breakthroughs in methods of treatment, methods of care, methods of aftercare. Not only finding new such ways, but refining existing ways so that these existing ways may work better. This is something which the AAPI members have been doing across the United States for so many decades, and which is among the many reasons why, if I may say so, it's one of the most important reasons why there is such a warm and good feeling about India in civil society in the United States, just as there is about the United States in civil society in India. Let's not worry about the attitudes of governments. For a long time in India, certainly until Prime Minister Modi came along, there was some distance between Delhi and Washington. And a lot of that was caused by the fact that in Cold War 1.0, between the United States and the USSR, India was very definitely tilting towards the Soviet Union. And in many ways, it was on the Soviet side. Let's be honest and admit that. Today, we are in the era of Cold War 2.0, between the United States principally and China principally. And Cold War 2.0 is dedicated on one side to dominating the Indo-Pacific, dominating the Eurasian landmass, and after that, dominating the rest of the world, including the far shores of the Atlantic Ocean, where the United States lies across from Europe. And the other strong group, which is basically united in seeking to ensure a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific, a Eurasian landmass that is not under the control of a single power. We have lived through that very short unipolar moment when the United States was the sole superpower. That's over now. Well, unipolarity is not the future of mankind. Multipolarity is, multi-ethnicity is, as diversity is, the diversity of opinion, the diversity of thought, the diversity of action that is so common in democracies and which is sought to be restricted in authoritarian dictatorships. Well, we do not want to replace the American unipolar moment, brief though it was in the 1990s, with a unipolar, not a moment, it could be a minute, an hour, who knows, of an authoritarian power, a power in which entire control is with a single party, and a single party controlled by a single group of individuals, and that group largely directed by one individual. We do not want that situation, definitely not in the Eurasian continent, definitely not in the Indo-Pacific, definitely not in the Atlantic, definitely not anywhere else. But that will kill democracy. It will kill the foundation of knowledge, which is freedom of thought, of expression, of belief, of diet, of dress, of lifestyle that is cherished by we in India and the citizens of the United States. I would like to say that I am deeply honored to be here today for the simple reason that in the era of Cold War 2.0, it is essential that India and the United States fashion a strong partnership. In this partnership, the organization that you represent is, if I may say so, one of the strongest buckles binding together the two greatest democracies in the world. Through your service, through your example, through the glory of the science to which you belong, you have created an immense fund of goodwill in the United States for India. And if I may say so, through interaction with your family and friends back home, and you come visiting the mother country, your ancestral country, every so often, and that's a very welcome thing. You ensure that we in India understand that the United States is a complex and wonderful democracy, as people in the US understand India is a complex and wonderful democracy. In this geopolitical world of Cold War 2.0, one of the most important instruments of freedom, make no mistake about it, is the AAPI. The work it represents, the example it sets, the vision it has, is among the strongest weapons that we as democracies have to ensure the partnership of India and the United States as we navigate the turbulent world of Cold War 2.0 and the complex world of the 21st century.
Thank you, Professor Nalapad. Let me introduce Dr. Jubi Nara. Again, she's the Vice President, Head of Medical, Respiratory Allergy Gastroenterology at Sanofi Genzyme. She's a public health physician involved in developing specialty pharmaceuticals, vaccines, biologicals, and even direct-to-consumer products. And she has been a part of 50 new medicines successfully launched, including vaccines in the US and globally. Dr. Jubi, thank you so much for flying from US to be here at COVID time. So, welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Again, thanks for this opportunity to be here and to be able to address this group of partners. That's what I call it, all partners in this. Those of you who heard me speak earlier at the Women's Forum, that was directed with one goal in mind, and that was really to make improvement and continue the continuum of our movement. But here at the CEO Forum, what I want to focus on again is the theme of prevention, focusing on how we can use technology to improve that. And some things that unfortunately are happening despite what we all know as physicians and those of us who have exposure. So essentially, prevention, breast cancer, cervical cancer, things like all diseases associated with smoking, heart disease, COPD. These are things that we can all prevent or detect early enough so that we can reduce morbidity and mortality. And in this partnership, it's not just the physicians. There are so many industries out there that are either producing products to help decrease this or to treat this. I think it's important to leverage those partnerships. And in today's digital world, it is important to optimize that digital technology. We can reach more people. We can help increase awareness. It's not just so, I see Indian movies, for instance, and sometimes they say, oh, smoking is injurious to your health. That's not gonna do anything to somebody who's gonna watch a movie. They'll be like, okay, move on. If you don't show them the consequences of smoking and show them what can happen because of it, it's not gonna change them. As a student, when I did my MBBS, when they were chopping off the mandible because of cancer here, given the smoking exposure, that made a difference. If you think about it, if that person saw that, knew that way before, would they have considered more in trying to stop?
Thank you so much, Dr. Jubi. And without much delay, let me invite Dr. Anuj Maheshwari. Dr. Maheshwari, Professor Maheshwari is the current governor of the American College of Physicians India chapter and the vice president of research for Society for the Diabetes of India. He's a fellow of the AC, American College of Endocrinology. He's a trained diabetologist and a metabolic physician, professor and head of internal medicine, BBD University, Ghaziabad Road, Lucknow, honorary physician and diabetologist, Sri Hari Kamal Diabetes and Care and Research Center, Jeevan Sahara, Lucknow. So, welcome, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, greetings from the American College of Physicians of India chapter. Although I am also from RSSDI people has talked yesterday. So I shall be representing today from American College of Physicians India chapter. And I shall be talking about how can we really work together to make the health conditions better in India. AAPI is definitely a new forum for me. I'm listening for the first time the people or members of the AAPI today, attending the first time, and it is altogether a different meeting. A number of inspirational thoughts and number of inspirational words I have listened since from morning session. But when we talk about the healthcare challenges in India, what the biggest challenge we find, that is the population. We are carrying 1 billion and more, and this is the second most populous country in the world, which is having the death rate definitely declining, but the birth rate is not coming down. It is going on the rise and rise. And we are really making our healthcare system overburdened. Despite producing 67,000 doctors every year, our doctor population ratio is at half mark what is suggested, because most of us join AAPI. So that is the biggest issue, because we are not giving them better quality of the living standards, better quality of the system here. For that, we has got this problem. And when we started this pandemic, all have been exposed. Healthcare system has come onto the actual where we could really found it is crashed with this pandemic. And why did it happen? Because we were really not knowing that this is going to happen. We were not using our healthcare facilities before enough. Because of not using those healthcare facilities, we were not actually prepared for the pandemic kind of the situation. Our population is poor, our population is less educated, illiterate. They don't know what the facilities government has made. They never go to the primary healthcare centers. They never go to the doctors for their routine problems. Many of the times even they don't go for the birth of the child to the hospitals. So when the pandemic has come and they were not finding anything there, they were really helpless, and the healthcare system has got really crashed like anything. But we know that awareness drives works. In India, 25 years before, nobody was knowing and nobody was expecting that we shall be able to stop smoking at the public places, but we did. We stopped the smoking at public places, and not by making the fine, but by making the awareness. Now you cannot do the smoking at public places. So definitely the awareness works, and we can do really work together to make the awareness more and people more for this healthcare system to be having their faith in this healthcare system.
Dr. Karthik Anandaraman couldn't be here in person, but he's the Chief Operating Officer of Roche. Without further delay, let's listen to his message.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Karthik Anandaraman, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Roche. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Joseph Jalil, also Dr. Anupama, Dr. Rudhya for inviting me to this American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin 15th Annual Global Healthcare Summit. It's indeed a pleasure to be a part of this prestigious event. I do understand I would have loved to come there in person and present, but given the new rise in the cases during the COVID pandemic and potentially a third wave, I'm joining virtually nevertheless, but definitely really look forward to a fantastic event. I do understand the key theme for this conference is technology, telemedicine, and technology transformation in healthcare. So I thought of actually making a quick presentation on what my observations have been working in the pharma industry, the medtech industry, in terms of how physicians are looking at digital transformation. So I think technology also is not just about connecting a physician with the patient during the course of the pandemic or beyond, as to how we can actually enable healthcare services to reach the periphery. Technology also has its due bit in terms of making sure that physicians have got their strong digital footprint in terms of having a very strong online presence, which actually drives a lot of patient traffic to physicians, to their clinics, to their offices, to their OPDs as well. And we've seen that happen with some of the very accomplished clinicians. So I wish to share a brief presentation here, which actually talks about how digital transformation is happening amongst physicians and what are some of the key learnings for industry at large, including medtech companies, pharma companies, etc. So here is a brief presentation that I wish to make, and this presentation is thanks to BCG, and BCG, or the Boston Consulting Group, as we see, is basically has made a very nice analysis on what are the key trends that they see in the pharma industry in terms of having digital engagement through pharma. So I would just share my screen, and this is a brief presentation that talks about key insights about how digital transformation has happened during the course of the pandemic. So you can see doctors are having changing expectation from pharma, and these changes are here to stay. Across the board, be it internal medicine, infectious disease, oncology, outpatient subspecialties, primary care, we are seeing that most physicians prefer to keep or increase the share of virtual interactions with industry, and that is great. And this is the same behavior that they are actually showcasing with patients as well. In the past, patients used to come for their initial workup and for their follow-up, and now we are seeing that the initial workup, though many doctors prefer to be in person, the follow-up visits is something that they're actually doing virtually. And there are a lot of technology and tools that are available to make this happen. Having said that, the preference for virtual engagement has significantly increased during the course of the pandemic, and you can see there are multiple digital platforms that have enabled it. But doctors are looking at it as a hybrid model, right? So there is a combination of one face-to-face and a few virtual. I think that's the key preference, what we see coming up from doctors. And across the board, the doctors' appetite for multiple types of digital channels are seen across all specialties of doctors. And you can see here multiple speaker programs, personal visit by the medical science liaison, training webinars, third-party physician portals, and we have DocPlexes, Curify, some very interesting, curated content-based medical and clinical portals for physicians, which are really, really growing very well, especially during the pandemic, and they've shown very significant digital traction. And of course, the right leverage of social media to share clinical case studies, etc.
Thank you, Karthik. Let me invite Dr. Guraba Reddy. Dr. Reddy is the founder and chairman of the Sunshine Hospitals, Indian orthopedic surgeon and a joint replacement expert. He's a founder of a 300-bed multi-specialty hospital here in Hyderabad, he's local. He's one of the leading surgeons and performs about 4,000 joint replacements per year. In addition, he has made efforts to increase the awareness and acceptance of joint replacement surgery in India. Dr. Reddy.
Good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, let me thank the AAPI members for giving me this opportunity and privilege. I think over the last 2 days, you must be seeing and hearing a lot of what can be done and what is wrong with the Indian healthcare system. For the next 3 minutes, I'm going to tell what is good about healthcare system. Because I want to be optimistic, and I always like to believe, and we all should believe, that glass is half empty rather than half full. I was born to a middle-class family. My father is optimistically pessimistic. If I don't come from the college half an hour late, the first thing he wants my brothers to go and see is mortuary. So that much pessimistic he is. But I'm so happy that my genetics is taken from my mother. So I'm very optimistic, unlike my father. In 1980, when my brother, who is right now in Texas College Station as a dean of A&M University, he had a heart problem. 1980, that is 40 years back. And I had to take him to Christian Medical College, Vellore, for an angiography. Now, I can proudly say that Hyderabad has got the highest number of cath labs in India. So, there is no dearth of technology and medical facilities now here. Unlike my predecessor, sir, sorry, I'm taking the other aspect. You have told what is wrong here. I'm trying to tell what is good here. And medical colleges, when I was medical school student, in 1977, I got into medical school, and my senior, Dr. Lokesh, is here, and he was my senior in Guntur Medical College. At that time, we have only 5 medical colleges in Andhra Pradesh, and there are again quota. The Guntur students can apply only for Guntur and Visakhapatnam, that's all. And there is a lot of fragmentation, and Kakinada Rangaraya Medical College was a donation. At that time the capitation was 50,000, we couldn't afford that. But now, if any student wants to genuinely get into medical school in India, the whole India is open. The whole India is a pan-India, medical seats are available. You can go and study all over India, wherever you want, provided you have the gumption and the inclination to be the medical student.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy. Let me invite Dr. Vikas Bhatia. Dr. Bhatia is the Director of All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Hyderabad and the founder, Dean of AIIMS Bhubaneswar since 2019, until 2019. He has been instrumental in commencing the OPD and teleconsultation facilities, developing 19 departments, labs, ICUs, executing indoor and COVID care service in AIIMS Hyderabad. So, Dr. Bhatia.
Good evening, everybody. My great pleasure to be here among the distinguished professionals, doctors from US and many from Hyderabad and Telangana and neighboring states. I was going through the brochure and the activities. The theme is adopting a village. When I was a medical student, I was planning to become a medical student. I used to live in Chandigarh at that time, and there was no medical college in Chandigarh where I could do MBBS. Because Chandigarh people, they don't have the domicile. That time it was very strict for Punjab or for Haryana. So I had to appear, and I reached Sevagram. That's the Mahatma Gandhi Medical College, Institute of Medical Sciences in Sevagram. And that was the only medical institute which was located and meant for the rural communities. Technology is concerned, we need to relook at the teaching and training program also, because COVID has taught us many lessons. And we are possibly hoping that the COVID will be over in this year, 2022, and scientific evidences may, if until there is a mutation, we hope that in the next 6 months or 8 months, we are free of this COVID from the entire world.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhatia. Let me invite Dr. Gaurav Agarwal, and he's the Managing Director of IITPL and co-founder of Innovation Healthcare Private Limited, with a targeted turnover of 200 crores in 2022. And he's among the top 15 medtech manufacturers in the country, out of nearly 1,000 manufacturers. 20 plus years of experience in nurturing, leading, and scaling up startups. Gaurav, please.
Usually my voice is loud enough. I don't need mics, but a very good evening, everyone. Very good evening to all the eminent CEOs on the panel and the eminent attendees. I'm very thankful to AAPI and especially Dr. Joseph Chalil for making me a part of this elite forum. I'd like to begin my address with a small disclosure. I'm perhaps one of the only non-physicians in the group. I'm not a doctor. So if there are any inconsistencies in my presentation, please pardon that and blame it on the lack of my medical education. My name is Gaurav Agarwal. I'm the founder of Involution, which is a cardiovascular care-focused company, one of the fastest growing medical device companies in the country, and the managing director of IITPL, Asia's most awarded cath lab manufacturing company based out of Bangalore. Since the beginning of my career, I've spent nearly quarter of a century in cardiovascular devices and equipments. So I'm going to be focusing my talk largely on prevention and management of cardiovascular disease. It's extremely well known. So what I'm going to do today is I'm extremely inspired by what Dr. Gurva said today. And he brought a lot of optimism to the dais. And I'm going to cut short my actual talk, which was on prevention of CVD, and just spend about 2.5 minutes at the end of my address to tell you how the new India is shaping in terms of medtech. I only know medical devices, and I want to share that optimism with a lot of you who are not from India. If we were to just estimate the magnitude of this problem, You know, in the 2+ years of pandemic, we've lost about 5 lakh Indians, according to the official data. And cardiovascular disease alone kills 30 lakh Indians every year. 6 times the number of the pandemic that has shook the entire world. That is the proportion of the disease. Now, ischemic heart disease and stroke form nearly 80% of the disease burden. I was planning to talk about a lot of other things, but I'll just curtail this talk because at the end of this, I want to spend 3 minutes on telling you how India is in the best place for the next 10 years to be the medtech capital of the world, like it is the pharmacy of the world today. The disease has started manifesting extremely early, you know, in the most productive lifespan of a person. So according to Dr. C.N. Manjunath, the director of Jayadeva Padma Shri Awardee, he says, gone are the days when the son used to bring the father to the cath lab. Now, the father brings the son to the cath lab. The average age of patients that he sees is below 40 years. And so it's proven today that whether it is heart attack or heartbreak, men are far more vulnerable. So that was on the lighter side, the latter being from experience. So I'm not going to talk about anything else. I represent the medical device space, and I'll only talk about some of the things, some of the initiatives that the government is taking to make India, or at least start the journey that began for pharmaceutical 20 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, and thank you so much. I see Dr. Sangeeta Reddy is here as well, CMD of Apollo Hospitals. But let me invite my friend Shekhar Satyaraju, who traveled from US as Senior Director at Takeda Pharmaceuticals. Thank you, Shekhar.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be in Hyderabad, and Hyderabad is very close to my heart. I spent 4 years here for my undergrad. And it's really great to see a vibrant country, right? So if you look at India demographically, more than half of our population is under 30. And this is a phenomenal strength for the country, and this young population would carry us forward in next coming decades. On the other flip side of the coin is this young population will also get older as well, right? And if we connect to the topic for today, which is prevention is better than cure. It's very important to make sure, you know, appropriate diagnosis is there so that we can prevent a lot of catastrophic events down the line. When I was trying to think of a framework, what we need to do to ensure this prevention, so I could think of 4 pillars. And those 4 pillars map very nice with AAPI name, AAPI. So first one that came to my mind was awareness, right? So awareness is exceptionally important, and more than, a lot of population stays in rural India. So where the awareness is low. We're not even talking about orphan or rare diseases that might take like 8 to 10 years even to get diagnosed. But even for normal kind of diseases, that awareness needs to happen from patient as well as other stakeholders. So the second A of this framework or pillar is access and affordability. So both are very powerful but very important terms, right? So access need to be there in remote areas, and population should be able to afford as well the cost of healthcare. And the third pillar I could think of was P for policy, and our policy need to have teeth, right? So the documents are very well written, but we have to make sure it's implemented very well at grassroots. And the last one is I, which I think stands for innovation and implementation, right? So India has done phenomenally well. And during COVID, we did see many technologies emerging. Telemedicine was really adopted across the world, in India as well. And there are other technologies at play as well that could make access to medicine to people around the country. And the last thing is implementation, right? So it's very important to execute well. So without good execution, like we'll always struggle. But I see phenomenal hope for the country, and India has a very, very bright future. And I look forward to working with all of you and the rest of the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shekhar. And Ardisha is again, she's a Chief Information and Digital Officer of Eli Lilly. It's extensive experience. I will invite her.
Thanks. First, a very good afternoon to everyone. And I want to start with a heartfelt thanks to AAPI and Dr. Gautamukula for the invitation to come to this event and speak at the CEO Forum. I'm going to start off with first also saying that I strongly support and endorse the proposed Indian Preventive Task Force with the overarching objective of bringing about a transformative change in the medical practice in India, most importantly for all Indians. This is talking about prevention for all the people, all of India. And the summit theme, of course, the T-Cube, right? Technology, telemedicine, and transformation in healthcare. My comments are based from my almost 3 decades of experience in healthcare, pharmaceutical drug development and research, digital health, advanced analytics and data sciences. I'm going to bring in the analytics part too. And I recently retired. I took early retirement for a reason. I'm passionate about this. As Daji talked about this afternoon, I want to go much deeper in my spiritual journey, but also to work with leading NGOs. I'm blessed to work with one of the leading NGOs in India, Srimad Rajchandra Love and Care, who is doing a lot in the medical arena, both not only in terms of treatment, but prevention. And as you talked about partnerships with, partnerships between private, public sector is important, between academia, government is important. Equally important is to say, where are these nonprofits? What are the business models that are working extremely well? And they may be working in small regions, in small districts, small talukas. If they're successful, how do we replicate that? How do we take it to scale? Okay. I want to start also and say that recently the Sunday Guardian article written by you, it has the compelling argument of preventive care and intervention in India, and the impact prevention and routine screening and intervention can make, and the opportunity to save human life. So I want to make 3 points. They're going to be different, but I'm more going to talk about the task force recommendation that AAPI is taking forward to the government of India. As we all know, necessity is the mother of all inventions. And in the last 2 years, we all can attest to the abundance of innovation that we saw during the COVID pandemic. I was blessed to be part of a company where we have seen what it took. This is go back to February, March of 2019, when the whole world changed. Whether it was to bring that first drive-through testing, the first diagnostic, the first antibody therapy while the vaccines were being developed, and literally saving thousands of lives. Okay, this was race against death. And the partnerships came to bear, all barriers were taken down, and we came together as society to say, how are we going to attack this pandemic? The question, this may be provocative, but I have for this, the leaders that are sitting in this room is, do you believe that there is a burning platform with respect to prevention in India, and that there's an opportunity to save literally thousands of lives if we do something about prevention? And this is about all Indians, all the people that are living below the poverty line in rural areas, as Judy, you talked about earlier. So that's number one. We manage the moment, okay? We are managing the moment during the COVID crisis. The question is, can this momentum continue? And what can we learn from this chapter in history and apply it to the question at hand?
Thank you, Dr. Shah. And I know we have Dr. Sangeeta Reddy here. Again, if anyone knows about innovation and creating well visits, annual physical exams, Apollo did that, decades before. Executive physicals, all of us were proud of. So let me, because we moved your slide to the last because we weren't sure what time you were arriving. But Dr. Sangeeta Reddy is the global healthcare leader, an Indian entrepreneur, and a humanitarian. She's the joint managing director of Apollo Hospital Enterprises Limited, Asia's largest and most trusted healthcare group. Dr. Sangeeta Reddy is also the immediate past president of the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Passionately committed to transforming the healthcare system through technological advancements. She accelerates positive transformation for effective healthcare service delivery. Dr. Reddy, please.
Good evening. Thank you for that kind introduction and a namaste to all of you. First, a very, very happy new year. And also equally important, let me congratulate and thank Dr. Anupama for this opportunity to be here and the great leadership she's shown at AAPI. And in the very same breath, let me congratulate every single one of you, members of AAPI, great leaders on the dais, for everything that you have done to contribute to the healthcare of the country and the world. I believe there is no time like the present when healthcare has been so much center stage. The unfortunate events of the last 2 years have made everybody sit up and think about healthcare. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What should we be doing differently? And most importantly, healthcare, which was often left as the responsibility of doctors and hospitals, then became the responsibility of governments and insurance companies, but now finally corporations, individuals, societies, housing communities, manufacturers, everybody is stepping up to say that we need to do something collectively to transform healthcare in the country and in the world. And so truly this is our moment. Let's take it. Let's seize this opportunity to transform whatever we believe can happen to make something better of healthcare in the world. And so this is truly such a wonderful forum. And congratulations, Dr. Anupama, for choosing a topic or a theme which is not celebrating the great curative work that doctors of AAPI have done over the years. I mean, you are the best cardiac surgeons, the greatest liver transplant people. We have a fantastic orthopedic doctor sitting here. All of you have done so much in curative care. And yet you boldly come forward and say, let's talk about prevention. And let me share with you that this is something that Dr. Reddy, our chairman, my father, and a good friend to many of you here, has said for many years. So I'm not going to read from, this nice script or thing that I was told to speak on technology, telemedicine, and transformation of healthcare, because I'm very inspired by your theme itself. So I'm going to quickly share a few data points to see if these are relevant in the journey that AAPI is looking to create, and these sharing of thoughts and ideas can become some of the foundation for a more significant partnership that we could, kind of bring about. But I will just definitely say one thing, and as the futurist Alvin Toffler said, technology is the great growling engine of change and transformation. And it is for us to make sure that it does not growl as a sound or a noise or a platform on stages, but it transforms quietly and silently to make the lives of people better.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reddy. So it's been a great honor, and let's go back to our lineup of speakers. Give me 1 second. Dr. Nias Mohammed is again chairman of AEC Group and been in medical education for a while. So let me explain.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a great honor to be part of this wonderful event. I would like to extend my gratitude to Dr. Sangeeta, Dr. Chali for inviting me for this event, and all the dignitaries in the dais, friends. I won't extend my speech too long because I think we have crossed the time. I just want to put some things into perspective. Like being a doctor, see, being in India, we have been taught PSM in our curriculum. But medical students don't take PSM as a major subject. They usually ignore it, thinking that this is something related with the rural population. I've been to many of the countries, I've seen the system, and most of the countries, they don't give much of an emphasis into the preventive system of medicine, whereas in India, we have that system. So the more important is that the system should be implemented into the students and made them aware that prevention is better than cure.
Thank you, Nias Mohammed. Dr. Murthy Gokula. He's a CEO and founder of Global Teleclinics, I believe a fellow American from Ohio. Global Teleclinics revolutionizes the healthcare industry by moving the discussion away from sick care I agree with you 100% over there. They're about to disrupt the healthcare industry through a holistic lifestyle care approach by changing the lifestyle and habits of individuals and families through 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine.
Good evening, everybody. I'll be very brief and crisp. I think I feel like very privileged and honored. I think my moksha is done today, sitting beside Sangeeta Reddy and all the august body here, and all the august people in front of me, audience. And there are brains and beauty also here on the floor. So my job of trying to create global teleclinics, I've been doing telemedicine for 10 years, and people in US thought I was a nut. I wrote a huge grant trying to see how older adults can stay home, blending medicine and technology. And then the grant kind of went south. The university didn't like it. So I was in academics all my life. I was the program director for geriatrics fellowship. And then something that I was missing is trying to disrupt primary care in rural area. And 2016, I resigned. I started Concierge Connected Care. So it's a membership model that I have. So I started doing geriatric concierge connected care. 2 years ago, I learned about lifestyle medicine. The 6 pillars are exercise, nutrition, stress management, sleep, addictions, and social relationships. One of the requirements is you go to an in-person CME. So I looked at it and I thought, let me go to Harvard. So I went to Harvard for a CME, and the evidence that they have presented over there just blew my mind. And I said, I'm done. This is going to be a paradigm shift that I'm not going to do disease management too much, but I'm going to do disease reversal. Once you do, the only way I've been working with a lot of public and private partnerships, CSR funding, through a machine called HealthCube from Delhi over the last 6 years. And what I believe in is an end-to-end program management, and data is power, as Dr. Shah said, and I believe in that. And how do you actually take that data and measure and then create consequent action? And the way I wanted to do it with rural India is to do a hybrid model wherein you do in-person consultation and teleconsultation, a similar replicative model in US. But we created a lot of lifestyle approach to COVID care. I'm sure there are a lot of data that's published that people who were less obese, people who had less comorbid conditions had less COVID and really conquered that well.
Let me invite Dr. Venkat. Dr. Venkat Ramana Sudigali is the founder director of Excel Multi-Specialty Hospital, Hyderabad, and the CEO of EHAconsortium.org. He's a clinical lead and head of business UK Teleradiology Group, and a public health, AI, health tech BD strategy advisor, and the first ever ambassador of UK Royal College of Radiologists. Dr. Venkat.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Anupama, Dr. Joseph, and Dr. Sujit for inviting me to this wonderful conference. Wonderful to listen, and it's a privilege, and I'm humbled to be alongside all of you. It's really great to hear each and every story that's coming up through this panel. A little bit of story from my side. So I'm a graduate of Hyderabad. I graduated in Osmania. I went to the UK and trained in clinical radiology. So I'm a radiologist. I'm also a consultant and a clinical lead for a UK radiology firm. So I do reporting, tele-reporting, what we call as. But frankly speaking, radiology has taught me a lot about primary care. And it's not a single day passes through where I do not think that why I'm not able to control or prevent or diagnose early on diseases. And as an example, I'll take the example of one small disease, which is actually a major burden in India, which is TB. And when we were medical students back in the 90s, TB was a major burden. And after almost 25 years, nothing much has really changed. National TB program has been going on since 60 years. And there has been an article just a couple of months ago, I don't know how many I've read, in a major pulmonology journal, that essentially TB is still a major problem in spite of the National TB Health Program. And I really want all of us to think really what is the thing that we can all do and act here. And I completely agree with Dr. Guru Reddy when he said it's very optimistic that the healthcare is projecting for the future. We Indians are really global citizens. This forum itself is an example. There are brilliant people all over the world, right from the top-notch orthopedic surgeons, cardiac surgeons, etc. So can we really sit down together and execute a plan? And one of the plan which is coming up right now is the task force, and I really appreciate what we're going to do for the future. So really wish to contribute in those sectors.
Thank you so much, Dr. Venkat. Let me invite Mr. Narayana Rao to give a few slides.
To all the dignitaries on the dais and to all the audience, a very good evening to all of you. I am Narayan Rao. I am the founder of Salsit Technologies Private Limited, which is a startup based in Hyderabad. So I started the journey as an external advisor for a project sponsored by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, acoustic signal analysis for healthcare. So the researchers have come up with some ideas on how the heart sounds or the chest sounds can be used using artificial intelligence and machine learning to identify any abnormalities early in the disease stage. So we also came across some interesting papers, cough from lab to clinic, objective assessment of cough. Having known that there is a lot of work happened on the heart signals and also on the lung signals, we actually narrowed down our focus to cough analysis. So essentially these papers did talk about the vital information the cough signal carries about the respiratory system. So we then did approach Nizam Institute of Medical Sciences, where we collected cough sound recordings of people who are having different respiratory disorders like asthma, COPD, interstitial lung disease, and so on. And we could identify that there is unique pattern among these different respiratory conditions. And then I also had an opportunity to interact with Dr. Anant Krishnan, who is the head of Center for Community Medicine at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. So he said, screening for respiratory diseases is an unmet need. It is not possible to really set up pulmonary function test at a primary care level because of the expertise needed and also the laboratory facilities.
Thank you. I know we are, running behind by 40 minutes or so. Let me invite Mr. Ravi Gopalan, who is the CEO of Argisoft. Mr. Gopalan, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm privileged to be here today amongst all of you. Special thanks to Dr. Anupama and Dr. Joseph. I'm going to very quickly share, this is a totally practitioner's approach, not from a medical faculty, but purely from a technology intervention. And I'm going to quickly talk about an intervention that has happened here in India, where we talk about the primary health care, exactly where the tire touches the ground. There has been the National Health Mission in India, and there has been a tremendous amount of progress. Dr. Reddy was very kind enough to mention the advances that have happened in terms of all the practices, and also in terms of the protocols that have been put in place. But when it comes to its implementation, because of the numbers, the sheer numbers, the situation takes a very different color. And when we talk of these field level health workers out there in the field, the health workers in the field, the ASHAs, the ANMs, the multipurpose health workers, who go out there and are supposed to actually deliver these services at the doorstep of the people as part of the National Health Mission, it becomes a humongous challenge, practically sort of impossible for people to do. For example, when a field level health worker goes out to the field, in the case of mother and child health itself, an ANM or an ASHA has to carry 4 registers. It's supposed to go door to door delivering services. And the number of fields, number of columns in the registers is unimaginable. A number as high as one of the registers has about 90 columns of data. Each visit, somebody's taking down those notes, which practically was kind of very difficult, and nobody ever did that. So in the state of Gujarat, we built this application which brought the power in the hands of the field level health workers, purely from the perspective of implementing these health schemes and delivering these schemes to the people. And this has been a labor of love for about now nearly 12-13 years. It's taken a huge amount of time. Of course, went through cycles of clinical trials, went through cycles of studies, a randomized controlled trial. And finally, in 2017, after a WHO trial, this actually was ready for rollout in the state of Gujarat. It took 2 years, because what started as a mother and child health intervention extended to areas of non-communicable diseases, blindness control, early detection of neurological disorders, nutrition, adolescent health, anemia. So all aspects were being brought under this platform, which is now evolved as, from a technology perspective, what we call as a comprehensive public health management platform, which is entirely configurable in its current avatar. It's already seen, this is the 4th avatar in these 13 years.
Thank you so much. I know we are behind schedule, but so we would take all your points to heart, and we have an action item which we will discuss. Again, we want to, as part of AAPI's request, a public appeal to the Government of India, to the Prime Minister of India. And if you have agreement with this proposal, I will send you a draft of this letter after this event. So I want you to review it. If you agree with it, I would love to have AAPI President's name on it, AAPI BOT name on it, and each of your name behind the letter. And we will reach out to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and to Health Minister's office, requesting, something like our US Preventive Task Force, which have been helping, creating guidelines. India needs something to start. So we would make that happen. If you are okay with it, we will definitely send you a draft. In the next few days, we will work out a final letter, which we'll send to the Prime Minister's office. Let me invite Preeti Upala. I have a different role as well as the chairman of the Indo-American Press Club in the US. I run a publication along with Ajay Ghosh in the US, a newspaper. So again, creating awareness in the media is also significant for us to create a responsible preventive healthcare system in India. I've met Preeti in several TV channels as a host in CNN and other ones. So Preeti, if you could invite our guest to be honored.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chalil, for that amazing opportunity. And guys, what an amazing forum. Please give yourselves a huge round of applause. I think everybody was very illuminated. And it's my great pleasure to invite all the guests so we can just give you a small token of appreciation. So I'd love to call out the names. I would start with very illuminating and eminent discussion that we had from Dr. Sangeeta Reddy. Hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.